Hi friends, hope you are doing well. I am Dr. Ganguly. Welcome to my channel. So today I am going to talk about the Fulbright fellowships, and you guys probably know that Fulbright Foundation gives out fellowships to people around the world to come and do research in the US. Sometimes they also pay for teaching as well as PhD degrees and so on. And also people in the US can go around the world and do their fellowships there. They can do postdoctoral research, they can do teaching work and so on. So essentially I'm going to answer 6 questions which are often asked in the Fulbright application form, and also if you manage to make it to the interview level, you are going to be asked these questions also. And these questions are very important in terms of the answer you furnish for them, because that's going to make a important contribution to the decision which they finally make. So before I begin, I should of course tell you that the Fulbright fellowships are given out by the US Department of State, and therefore it has something to do with establishing friendly and cordial relations between the US and the other countries around the world. So do remember that the Department of State is similar to a foreign ministry in most countries. And in fact, the foreign ministers are the most affable and amiable ministers you will find in a typical cabinet. So these are the people who actually project the soft power, and one of the aims of the Fulbright Foundation or the Fulbright Fellowship is also, of course, to increase the soft power of the US, to make you feel good about the US and so on. So with that in mind, let's begin this set of questions. So now the number one question you will get is, what is the importance of your project for the field? And this of course is a rather technical or research oriented question. And here when you write your proposal, you have to do a brief literature survey, and you have to clearly point out what is the research gap in the literature and how you propose to fill it. So this is something which we are tuned to doing in research, and you have to do that. Now here you have to mention the improvement which you are going to make with respect to the current research work. In some cases there may be little or no research work in the field. Now do not get demotivated by that. This simply means that there is no published research in the area, and one of your contributions is to actually bring out publications in this area. So it often happens that there are many abstruse fields where nobody is doing any work, and sometimes the foundations can give you money to work in these kind of fields. So that's something to keep in mind. Now the number 2 question is, what is the importance of the project for the US and your home country, or the country you are visiting if you are going from US? So here I would say the basic thing they want to know is the broader perspective. Now remember, the people who are judging the Fulbright and certainly in the interview committee are coming from a variety of disciplines. So you need to frame answers here which are legible or intelligible to a normal person who may be from a different background than your own specialist background. So now here you need to talk about certain aspects. For example, it could help the human condition, it could help in social and cultural exchange between the countries. These are some things which you can easily say, for example, in the arts, humanities and social sciences domain, because these fields typically tend to concentrate on getting a better understanding of the socio-cultural systems around the world, and to encourage the growth of good relationship between the different people and the societies. Now if you are coming from a more technical background, maybe you can focus on important problems such as climate change, such as infectious diseases, such as water resources management, such as solar power and so on, because wherever you pick on relatively good topics which are broader for human development, your chances of getting the fellowships does increase. Now even if you are coming from a core engineering field, remember that engineering is focused on 2 things, which is improving performance and also improving safety. So if you always think about the safety side of the equation, then any field can be transformed into a field which is positive for human development. So whatever thing you are working on, maybe it could be made safer in terms of lower probability of failure, not having catastrophic failure and so on. So in those cases, this is certainly going to be one more thing which is going to help you. Now one more area which is of great interest to people is related to agriculture, forestry and so on, because these of course have a lot of impact on any given population. So keep these fields in mind whenever you are trying to focus on the importance of the project. Now, if you have already selected a project, think about how you could put it in such a manner that people will feel that this project is something worth funding, both for the US and for the country which is the partner in this particular program. Now, the third question is effect of Fulbright on teaching or professional work in your home country. Now, here of course it mentions things such as new approaches to curriculum planning, student activities or pedagogy, expanding knowledge and collaboration with US colleague. So they have mentioned several aspects. Now remember, the US teaching style is different from the teaching style around the world. It focuses more on independent thinking, more on critical thinking and so on, and less on examinations and rote learning. So you can be somebody who is essentially learning some of these techniques in the US and bringing this back to your home country. Or in case you are somebody who is going from US, maybe you can take advantage of the complex and rigorous examination systems present in many countries and see if there is any advantage which comes out of such systems. Now, my personal opinion is that examinations are good in the way that they remove the possibilities of nepotism and bias, even unconscious bias, which is present in many situations. So that is something which you may concur with or you may not. Now, of course, if you are coming from a pure research background, then talking about teaching and all seems complex, but you can always mention that whatever you are going to do research on, you are going to write papers on it, you are going to make presentations on it, and you are going to present it at various colleges and universities around the world. So that is certainly one way you are going to help this research spread around the world. So this brings us to the fourth question, which is impact on research on home, institute, country and professional field. Now here of course you can mention various things. For example, if your research is very relevant to your home country, maybe your home country is in a desert scenario and you are working on water resource problem, then certainly that is a very clear impact. Maybe your home country suffers from a lot of poverty and whatever you are doing is going to help remove poverty. Maybe your home country suffers from a lot of energy deficits, there is a need for power production, and then you can say how your projects involving solar panels or even nuclear power is going to benefit this particular situation. So you need to be creative in coming up with different impacts of the research on your home institute and so on. Now, as far as your institute itself is concerned, you may think about planning to set up some research lab or add something to a research lab. You may start off some joint projects with the US in this particular direction. And you could also develop collaboration with the person you are working with and several other people you meet in the US. And then this collaboration may be continued down the road through PhD students, through master's degree students and so on. So very often a lot of the research work which takes place internationally is through collaborations. And remember, collaborative research gets cited much more than research which is happening in independent countries. So this is again something to keep in mind if you are somebody who wants to boost his or her citations down the road and become an H-index superstar. Now the next point is plan to distribute the research effort around the country and elsewhere. Now of course the typical academic way to disperse research which has been done is through conferences, through journal publications, through book chapters, even through books. I'm going to give some videos in the end screen which is going to help you figure some of these things out if you are not conscious of some of these things. And certainly you can also develop certain products, you can make softwares, you can file patents. These are also possible. These are other ways to disperse your research. Now do remember that you can also say that you are going to give certain talks in US. So do remember that once you are present in US, there are many universities and colleges nearby, and you may even get funding to actually go to certain conferences and present papers. So Fulbright may be giving you some of this funding. So that's certainly an advantage. You can also make a presentation at the particular university you are doing your Fulbright in so that your knowledge is spread there. And if there is enough interest in the field, you may be able to propose some joint proposals between your home country and US to various research institutes, and then you can continue this particular research work. So these are some of the likely answers which you can give to this question. Now the sixth question is, why USA, why on site? So this question has become increasingly important because many of the countries around the world are at a level now where a lot of the research can be done wherever you are. So in the old days, people could even say that they want to come to US because they want to have access to a certain library. But nowadays, papers are downloadable from the internet, so those things are not going to cut it in that same manner. So what you need to say here is certain type of equipment which is there in the US university, you don't have access to that. The expert whom you are going to work with is a very renowned expert and you would like to work with this particular expert. There are certain universities in the US which have excellent group of people. So most of the research nowadays is done by expert groups. So by having access to this expert group, you are going to certainly be able to contribute to research substantially and grow as a person. So these are some prospectively good answers to the field. Now, if you are in certain fields such as arts and so on, or architecture, maybe you can say that you want to go to Chicago because it has a lot of good art museums. It has got excellent architecture firms and so on. So again, do some prior research about what are the strong places in US in certain disciplines. So maybe if you are somebody who wants to work in machine learning or deep learning, you may want to go to somewhere like California, San Francisco region and so on, because there are a plethora of companies, startups and top experts in the field. Maybe if you want to work in agriculture, you want to go to the universities of Texas. So you get the basic point here. You need to make the case why you need to go to US. Now for some people, especially those who are coming from very basic developing countries, they can even say that the various equipments which are available in the US labs, they do not have it in their home country. So they are even going to figure out how to set up a lab. So sometimes it's not enough to simply have money. You need to have the information about what are the different equipments you need, the different microscopes you may need to buy and so on. And once you have a knowledge about these products, you can actually go back to your home country and you can set up a proper lab where you can continue to do your research. So in many cases, it is not the absence of money, but the absence of information which actually deters many scholars from making progress. So these were some of the likely questions which are actually listed out in the Fulbright application, and certainly which they are going to ask you when you go for the interview if you make it that far. Now, one of the things Fulbright and different fellowships want you to do is to think in a broader way, to be more independent and broad-minded in your thinking. So if you have been somebody who is very narrowly focused, maybe you do whatever your boss tells you to do or whatever your advisor tells you to do, then you need to actually think out more broadly and actually start thinking about why the research you are doing is important, because these are something which you need to focus on. And also, what is the place of your research in the international system and how international collaboration can actually boost your research. Like I mentioned before, many a time when 2 people or 3 people get together, the research which comes out is greater than the sum of the individual research which they do. So there is a theory in psychology that the sum of something is greater than the sum of the individual parts. So various parts may be there, each person may write a paper which is humdrum, but together, when they come together, they may write a very great paper which may have a significant impact on the field. So that is one of the reasons to encourage this kind of international to and fro movement of scholars through the Fulbright Fellowship. So I hope I answered the questions well today. I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.